You ever notice how some people never seem rattled by money problems while others are one unexpected bill away from a total meltdown? It's not about how much they earn. It's about a specific financial rule they follow that most people have never even heard of. And once you understand it, you'll see exactly why some lives look stable and others look like they're constantly on fire. Let's start with something most people get wrong. They think financial stress comes from not having enough money. That's only half true. The real source of constant anxiety isn't the amount in your bank account, it's the gap between what you have available right now and what you might need at any moment. When that gap is wide, every phone call feels like a potential disaster. Every strange noise your car makes turns into a week of sleepless nights. That's not living. That's surviving on the edge of a cliff. The rule that separates calm from chaos is simple. It's called the liquidity buffer, though most people just call it an emergency fund. But calling it that misses the point entirely. This isn't about emergencies in the traditional sense. It's about creating a financial breathing room that changes how you make every single decision in your life. When you have readily accessible money that isn't earmarked for bills or investments, you stop operating from a place of fear. You start operating from a place of choice. Here's why this matters more than almost anything else in personal finance. Imagine two people with the exact same income. One has 3 months of expenses sitting in a savings account. The other has nothing liquid but maybe some retirement accounts they can't touch without penalties. Now something breaks. A medical bill arrives. A job gets cut. The person with the buffer looks at the problem, handles it, and moves on. The other person spirals. They might take on high-interest debt. They might make a desperate career move. They might cash out investments at the worst possible time and pay penalties and taxes that set them back years. Same problem, completely different outcomes, all because of this one rule. But let's go deeper. The liquidity buffer doesn't just help when bad things happen, it changes your behavior every single day. When you know you have months of expenses covered, you negotiate differently at work. You're not desperate. You can walk away from a bad offer because walking away won't destroy you. That confidence alone is worth thousands of dollars over a career. You also spend differently, not recklessly, but without the constant guilt and fear that comes from knowing one wrong move could ruin everything. You make decisions based on value instead of panic. Think about how most people handle their finances. They get paid, they pay bills, they spend what's left, and then they repeat the cycle. There's no buffer. Every dollar that comes in is already spoken for or quickly spent. They might feel fine during the good months, but the moment something unexpected happens, the whole system collapses. And here's the thing. Unexpected things always happen. Always. Cars break, bodies get sick, jobs disappear, roofs leak. If your financial system can't handle the normal chaos of being alive, it's not a system. It's a hope. The people who stay calm during chaos have built their finances on a foundation that can absorb shocks. They've decided that before they invest, before they upgrade their lifestyle, before they do anything else, they're going to create a cushion. That cushion is usually somewhere between 3 and 6 months of basic living expenses. Not 3 to 6 months of income. That's a common mistake. It's about expenses. What does it actually cost you to exist each month? Rent or mortgage, utilities, food, insurance, minimum debt payments. That number, multiplied by 3 to 6, is your target. Now some people hear that number and shut down. They think it's impossible. If you're living paycheck to paycheck, saving even 1 month of expenses feels like climbing a mountain. But here's where the rule becomes powerful. You don't need 6 months of expenses to feel the difference. Even 2 weeks changes everything. Even 1 week gives you options you didn't have before. The goal isn't perfection on day one. The goal is direction. You start small, you build slowly, and every dollar you add to that buffer is a dollar of stress you're removing from your future. Let's talk about what happens when you don't follow this rule. You end up in what's called a reactive financial state. Everything you do is a reaction to something that just happened. You're not planning, you're not building, you're surviving. And survival mode is exhausting. It's also expensive. When you don't have a buffer, you pay more for everything. You pay overdraft fees. You pay late fees. You take out payday loans with interest rates that should be illegal. You finance emergencies on credit cards and then spend years paying them off. All of that could be avoided with a simple buffer. But it's not just about avoiding bad outcomes, it's about creating good ones. When you have liquidity, opportunities look different. Maybe a certification program could boost your career, but it costs money up front. Without a buffer, that's a risk you can't take. With a buffer, it's an investment. Maybe a friend is starting a business and needs a small partner investment. Without liquidity, you can't even consider it. With liquidity, you have a choice. The buffer doesn't just protect you from disasters, it opens doors that would otherwise stay closed. There's also a psychological component that people underestimate. Financial stress doesn't stay in your bank account. It leaks into everything. It affects your health. It affects your relationships. It affects your ability to focus at work, which affects your ability to earn more, which keeps you stuck in the same cycle. When you break that cycle by building a buffer, you're not just improving your finances. You're improving your entire quality of life. You sleep better. You think clearer. You show up differently in every situation because you're not carrying the weight of constant financial fear. Now let's address a common objection. Some people say they can't save because they have debt. They think every extra dollar should go toward paying off what they owe. And while I understand that logic, it's often a mistake. If you put everything toward debt and keep zero buffer, you're setting yourself up to go deeper into debt the moment something unexpected happens. It's smarter to build a small buffer first, even just 1 month of expenses, and then attack debt aggressively. That way, when life happens, you don't add to the problem, you handle it and keep moving forward. Another mistake people make is confusing investments with liquidity. They think because they have money in a retirement account or in stocks, they're covered. But liquidity means you can access the money quickly without penalties or major losses. If you have to sell investments during a market downturn or pay early withdrawal penalties, that's not a buffer. That's a last resort. The liquidity buffer needs to be separate, accessible, and in something stable, like a savings account or money market fund. It's not there to grow. It's there to protect you. Here's where the rule gets even more interesting. Once you've built your buffer, your entire financial strategy can shift. You can take smarter risks with your career because you have a safety net. You can invest more aggressively in your retirement accounts because you're not worried about needing that money in an emergency. You can say no to things that don't serve you because saying no won't put you in danger. The buffer creates freedom, and freedom creates better decisions, and better decisions create wealth over time. Let's also talk about what the right size buffer actually is, because it's not the same for everyone. If you have a stable job, low expenses, and good insurance, 3 months might be plenty. If you're self-employed, have variable income, or work in an unstable industry, 6 months is smarter. If you're the sole income provider for a family, you might want even more. The rule isn't rigid, it's adaptable. But the principle stays the same. You need enough liquid cash to handle life without destroying your financial foundation. Some people take this rule to an extreme and hoard cash out of fear. That's not the goal either. Once you have your buffer in place, additional money should be put to work. It should go toward paying off high-interest debt, building wealth through investments, or increasing your skills and income. The buffer is the foundation, not the entire house. But without that foundation, everything else you build is fragile. Think about the long-term implications. Someone who builds and maintains a liquidity buffer over decades will navigate recessions differently than someone who doesn't. They'll handle job changes differently. They'll handle health crises differently. They'll retire differently because they've spent their entire working life making decisions from a place of stability instead of desperation. The compounding effect of good decisions made from a position of strength is massive. It's the difference between a life spent climbing out of holes and a life spent building towards something meaningful. So how do you actually build this buffer if you're starting from zero? You start by treating it like a bill. Every time you get paid, a portion goes into the buffer account before you do anything else. It doesn't have to be a lot. Even $20 a paycheck is a start. You automate it so you don't have to think about it. You make it invisible, and you don't touch it unless it's truly necessary. Over time, it grows. And as it grows, your stress shrinks. The rule that separates stability from constant stress isn't complicated. It's not a secret formula or a get-rich-quick scheme. It's the deliberate decision to create space between yourself and financial disaster. It's choosing to build a foundation before you build anything else. It's understanding that liquidity isn't just about having money. It's about having options, having peace, and having control over your own life. The people who seem calm during chaos aren't lucky. They're prepared, and preparation is a choice anyone can make. If this perspective shifts how you think about your own finances, take a moment to like this video. Drop a comment and let me know where you are in building your own buffer. And subscribe, because understanding these principles is how you move from reacting to life to actually directing it. Financial stability isn't about earning more, it's about managing smarter. And it starts with this one rule.